my Facebook ready because I share it.
God, yeah.
Oh no, here we go. Okay, we're live. Yay, we're live.
Oh.
Okay, I'm gonna share, I think. The first 30 seconds. Huh?
I wanted to share that too, but
well, you can.
Yeah,
Anybody who's watching this, including our esteemed guest, Nick West, whom I will introduce shortly, may go to the Across the Board Facebook page where you're seeing this now, hit that share button, and put it out there into the world. I'm going to put it out there in the world. Spending time with my... Oh, good. Mike, you finally came up on my shortcuts.
Oh, good. I'm ghosted myself.
You did. Although Nick is not. Nick is being replaced by some other people that I'm not sure I understand. I'll have to tag Nick in a minute. Okay. So we're all sharing. Hi, everybody. How are we doing? Okay, I'll go through house rules while everybody is sharing their stuff. Did you find it?
Yes.
Isn't this is what's so great about this live podcasting, is that everything's so organic and it's so chill.
Yeah.
Welcome to Across the Board, everybody. This is episode 8. As you all know, Across the Board is an educational podcast that Exeter and I do weekly to talk about promoting good mental health, healthy habits, some nice tricks for creatives in the music industry. This is interactive, so if you are joining us, please feel free to chat, ask questions, share stories, connect with people. It's all good. The one thing that we ask is that you don't ask our esteemed guests to please introduce you to famous people, because that's a big no-no. Also, we don't talk about politics. It's true, girl. You don't know. Like, people ask.
That's ask. Wonderful.
They ask, and I'm just like, no, don't ask that question. Ask other questions. Don't ask that question. We don't talk politics. We don't talk religion. There is no sexual harassment here. There's no sexual harassment here. There's no harassment of any kind. There's no bullying and there's no trolling. And the deal is, if you write a trolling comment, we will read out your comment, we will read out your name, and we will bounce you out of here, because this is a one strike you're out zone. Nick, you know me, girl. Come on. I have never tolerated that ever in my life. I've been like, no, get out now. I am so unbelievably pleased that the timing of this worked out. Our guest today is somebody that I have known for years. I won't say how many, but it's been a minute. She has played with everybody under the sun. She has worked with such amazing people, including Orianthi. You worked with. You're doing stuff with Cindy Blackman, right? You have there's so many things that you're doing that are just unbelievable. I had the deep pleasure and delight to manage a project early on in your career and produce some stuff that you were on early on in your career. And so we've sort of remained in touch, friends here and there, juggling, traveling and stuff. And Nick is just such an inspiration to so many people. I think she's a beast of a bass player. She's a beast of a singer who now sings with her eyes open. And just a real inspiration to so many people, all different genres, all different ages. So everybody, please welcome Miss Nick West. We're all going to clap for you at home in our See, we already have a comment. Celine says, Nick, your room is amazing.
Thank you.
So
I need something creative and purple.
There you go. So Nick, let's start from present day and work our way backwards a little bit here. During quarantine, during COVID, I think a lot of people have been struggling with, oh, I can't go outside. Oh, I can't this. Oh, I can't that. They're struggling on the have-nots versus the haves. And the one thing about your social media, and I know we all have up and down days, you're always offering people something to do, right? Whether it's a bass lesson, whether it's a concert, whether it's showing them behind the scenes of what you're working on in your studio or your yoga area, things like that. So can you take us through how you've been staying focused during this time?
Well, for me, I've been touring like constantly for a while. So not being able to tour was like crazy to me because I'm not used to just being in one place for a long period of time like this. So I just decided to do all of the things that I've been putting off because I'm always busy.
Right.
So yeah, that's what I just decided to do. I made a list of everything that I've been wanting to do that I've been putting off. And then I literally chug away at that list daily. So that's what I do to keep myself sane, because otherwise I'd be like, oh my God, I have to go. I need to get on a plane and go somewhere else. But
Right.
I just literally, I wake up, I do my workout, and I look at that list. And there's some days where I'm like, oh my God, I can't do this. I want to do something else. Like, and then I say, okay, Nick, just check one thing off. Just do one thing on that list on the bad days. And then on the good days, you know, I'm able to get everything done. So yeah, it's just, for me, it's just making a list and checking things off.
So this list is a daily list. It changes from day to day. This is not like a master thing from like February or March when the lockdown started.
Yeah, so it's a daily list. I mean, of course, you know, I have like big goals, like finish your base lesson course. And then each day it's like, do this lesson, send this lesson to be edited, you know. So it's a master list, but it's broken down into daily tasks.
Gotcha.
It's the only way I can survive.
So do you always do that? Have you done it for a long time, or has this made it particularly more a thing?
So when I was a kid, I was diagnosed with ADD. They wanted to medicate me and all of that stuff. And my mom was like, no, she just doesn't have enough to do. Let's give her more to do. I mean, I have a very bad problem with attention. Like my attention span is super short. So I have to make lists in order to keep me focused. Because I'll be like, okay, yes, I have to practice today. And then I'll practice. And while I have the bass in my hand, I'll be like scrolling on Instagram. Or I'll be like just daydreaming, like just looking at the ceiling for like 10 minutes thinking about nothing. So I have to make lists and I have to check them off so that I know that I'm actually doing something other than daydreaming.
Right.
Brilliant.
Yeah. One thing I did notice also on your social media has been really like, because it went from touring stuff. You're right. It went from like touring and behind the scenes stuff and like you and Hubie doing just like the weirdest faces on earth to then it became like Nick's in the kitchen today and we're going to be learning to make, you know, my husband's traditional food, or we're going to be doing a barbecue or this, that, and the other. And so like, has this given you a chance to rekindle a lot of things that you enjoy that you hadn't had a chance to do while you were on the road?
Yeah. I mean, I've started cooking more and doing those things that I haven't done while I've been on the road. But I realized that I really don't like it.
Okay.
I thought that I'd be like, because, you know, I learned how to cook when I was really small, of course. So I've always known how to cook. But now that I'm kind of like, okay, let's do the meal planning, the prepping, and let me cook this and cook that. And I literally have to think about, okay, well, what do I want to cook this week? And I realized I don't like that. I don't like it. I don't like being domesticated like I thought I would.
Fair enough. It's not for everybody. You're absolutely right about that. It's not for everybody. But it has given you a chance to work on some projects that I noticed that you weren't doing while you were on the road. You're now composing for some larger organizations.
Yes.
Right. You're managing to keep yourself not just busy, but productive. And I think, contributing to the community by doing those things. So can you talk to us about like pivoting from the on the road thing to getting in the studio?
Yeah. So, on the road, that like, of course, that's what I love doing. I love getting on stage, acting a fool, wearing my costumes and stuff. So now it's just been me like in sweats, you know, I'm in sweats now, just kind of doing my thing at home. And I feel like it's helped me like exercise a different part of my brain, because one thing is like getting on stage and doing just kind of what comes instinctively to me. And then now I have to focus on, okay, for instance, ESPN says, we want you to create simple, danceable grooves that sound like this. Right. And it's like, okay, so I'm not creating original songs that would be put on an album where it's about my life, or I'm doing songwriting. This is literally just, I have to keep it simple. So like third grade bass lines is what I have to think when I'm doing this. So it's helping me exercise literally a different part of my brain. Things that I didn't think that I could do, now I'm doing. Like I'm playing all the different instruments and everything for it too. So of course, nice. Yeah, I'm creating the bass line, but then I'm creating all of the other musical elements that come with it. So yeah, it's been a big pivot for me, because now I have to sit and focus and, you know, and when I'm on stage, it's kind of like, well, this is what I got. This is what I'm bringing to you. And you're going to love it anyway, because I'm awesome. Right. And then here it's kind of like, oh, am I following the rules? Like, am I in the box? Like, do you love this? No. Okay. Try it again, kind of thing. Right. So it's very different.
So when you're on the road, what's the rest of your day like? Because if you're out on stage, you've got that massive thing that you're doing for a couple of hours. What do you do to keep your mind focused and maybe have fun doing something else? What's that like?
Well, I go and I see sights a lot. I do that. But that's mostly on the day off. So we have like a day off before or a day after the show. But on show days, I do nothing. I stay in the bed. I sleep. I don't talk. And then right before I stretch. And then right before I get on stage, it's like all this energy is like contained before I get on stage, so that when I get on stage, I just let it all out without feeling overwhelmed afterward.
Right. What do you say to people? There's a movement right now that's going on called I think it's called Save Our Stages. And it's this thing on social that, like, the crew aside, right? Because they really are in need of work and support. But what do you say to artists that are out there that are really having a tough time, that truly are panicking daily over, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to play a gig again. I'm never going to be able to tour. What do I do? How would you encourage them to handle that so that they might be a little bit more balanced and a little bit more at peace with things right now?
Well, I think that, yes, like I said, touring and getting on stage and playing in front of people, that really gives me energy and it really helps mentally for me. But it's really the art of the pivot. And musicians especially have to know that, okay, yes, we're musicians, but we have more to offer than just playing on stage. We have so much more to offer to the world. We can, record songs. We can record with other people. We can collaborate with other people. We can meet new people. And that's what I've been doing. It's kind of like, after this whole COVID thing is over, if you haven't connected with old friends or met new ones, then you might be alone once the touring season and everything starts happening again. So I would say use this opportunity to connect with artists and collaborate and just meet new people, because that's what I've been doing.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Have you gotten any, I know you get a lot of questions on your Instagram from folks. Do you have people reaching out to you, like confiding, like freaking out, like, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to, what should I do? What should I do? Like, because social's really been a place where I think a lot of people have been expressing themselves, right? And turning to people about that. And like, even though Mike and I talk about this a lot, like, even though we're not counselors, right? We try to offer support in the best way that we can, but sometimes the boundaries just get a little blurred, or somebody tends to cross a line. Like, do you have a lot of folks that are, I think, crossing over a little bit more because of COVID right now?
I mean, yeah, especially like in the comment section, of course. But then I'm one, just like you can kind of see through, okay, this person's freaking out right now, and saying it is better than not saying it, because keeping it in is what makes people go crazy. So I invite them to say whatever they need to say. And for me, it's just kind of like, okay, I understand, sending you love, lots of hugs. And sometimes just saying that little bit goes a long way with people that are making those sort of comments or sending those sort of messages. So I welcome it because people have to say something so that they don't just keep it in here.
Gotcha. I will pivot for a second and talk about two things that we don't get a chance to really talk about. And some of that is because like our guests are people that either aren't friends from so long ago, which is hard because Nick, you and I are only 19. Yeah. So clearly that was just yesterday. But one thing that I do want to talk about, and Mike and I talk about this a lot in terms of like the reason that we teamed up to do this is not just because we're both advocates for good mental health, but the idea of having a male and a female producer talking about this together is something that's not really seen as much. And when I met you, right, when we were scouting for this project that we were doing way back when, and you had, I can't remember, you had written in or something, and I got you on. I remember I got you on the phone. I was living in England at the time, Mike. I was living in Northampton. Really? Yeah. I was in a place called Upton Grange in Northampton, in an eco village, weirdly enough. And you said, "Yeah, I go by Nick because if I'm sending in, you know, an MP3 or whatever, I don't. It doesn't matter if I'm male or female. I want people to be blown away by my playing and by my skills and what I bring to the table." Has that, I mean, obviously now everybody knows who Nick West is, so it's a little different, but have you found that journey to be a difficult one in that when people see you and they put the two together, they go, holy crap, you're a girl, right? Or, oh, you play well for a girl, or man, you can groove for a girl. Or have you sort of been able to do away with that whole thing?
So in the very beginning, yes, I shortened my name because, you know, I was on Craigslist like, need a bass player? I'm a bass player. Da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, Nikki, you know, Nikki this, Nikki that, Nikki this. And nobody would respond to me. So I just shortened it to Nick. And I got 2 responses. And of course, I walked into this like audition to play with this band in Arizona. And the guy was like, dude, you're a girl? We didn't know you were a girl. So I'm just like, oh, so it worked. Me shortening my name worked. Like, just kind of got me in the door so that I could get a gig. Right. And then it just kind of stuck. And then, of course, when I met Prince, he was like, is your real name Nick West? What's your name? Is that your name? And I'm like, yeah, that's my name. I mean, yeah, it's shortened, not Nikki, Nick. But it's my real name. And he's just like, because it really sounds like a superstar name. It really fits you. It sounds like a superstar. And I was like, oh, well, you know, I did the right thing. So it was just kind of like something that happened by accident that just ended up working. And do you feel like now, like, especially with, there's a whole surge of young women, I think over the last few years that have really gotten into, not just songwriting, but being a very strong instrumentalist and into the production side of things. I mean, do you feel like that's something that you would encourage other young women to do at the beginning of their careers? Or do you feel like, no, now we can, you know, get out there and be us and not have to worry about that so much? Or is that still there, do you think? For me, to be honest, I felt kind of the opposite, that being a woman in the industry that just dominates on the instrument is a plus. Like it's something that just, it works. It's like now everybody wants a girl that plays their instrument in their band. Everybody wants a girl band. Everybody wants a girl on bass or drums or keys or something, or guitar. So I feel like it's kind of worked in our favor. Of course, yeah, you get those guys and those producers that are like, oh, you know, we're gonna make you sing about this, and we're gonna make you do this. And it's like, I don't want to sing about a love song. I want to rock out. I want to sing hard, you know. So I mean, yeah, you get that, but I feel like it's worked in my favor. Right. So I guess my question to clarify is like, so if let's say a young girl, right, teenage girl comes to you and say, hey, I want to be, you know, I want to be a guitarist or bass player, whatever.
I mean, would you recommend her? Well, hey, shorten your name and make it so it's gender neutral so that you get more gigs? Or would you say, no, this is great, you're who you are, and be proud of that and get out there and, screw those people that don't want to hire you because you're female? Because it's changed. I mean, it's
that,
right? Alan.
That for sure.
Yeah, Alan.
That for sure. I mean, I didn't know anything. I was just pulling at straws like, well, let me see if this is going to work. And that happened to work for me.
Right.
But yeah, just be who you are, get out there, be as
actually
feminine
stay
as
inside
you want
right
to,
now.
or, yeah, you be a tomboy if you want to, be super feminine if you want to. But the only thing that I recommend is make sure that you're dominating your instrument. Because there are the girls that are okay, yeah, you're really dope on your instrument, and then there's some that kind of just use the instrument as a prop.
Yeah.
So don't use it as a prop. Make sure that you're really good at what you do.
Yeah.
And then get out there and be yourself and do that thing. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, we keep coming back to that all the time, don't we? It's like you've got to own what you do. There's no excuses for not being good.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I saw you, Nick, because I've seen the trajectory of your career from when you were in Arizona to when you came to New York to be with what we were doing to now right out here. And the thing that I think for me was so relatable to you was that it wasn't just the talent and the determination, but it was this idea that you knew very well that you weren't out there trying to be like somebody else. You were there to be you, and hopefully other people would be inspired to follow in your footsteps, right? Not to be sheep, but to say, hey, if I can pave my own way and do this, then y'all can do whatever y'all want to do as well.
Exactly.
And how do you feel? Because the thing is like when people ask me about you, it's not like saying Taylor Swift or whatever. It's like, well, no, you don't understand. I mean, she's this bassist, but it's all of these other, right? It's kind of like saying Stanley Clarke or Bootsy Collins, or it's the person that is the personality and the instrument in one, rather than, oh, I'm an artist and I do this and right. It's a very different personality for you. Have you had a lot of people been able to relate to that, or has it sort of been like, wow, that's amazing, but there's a sort of a gap there? Or do you have people that are constantly like, show me how to do that. I want to do that. That's what I want to be.
Wow, that's an interesting question. I never really thought of it like that. I think for me, before they meet me or watch an interview or kind of see me live, it's kind of like there's this persona, there's this mohawk, there's this cat suit, there's this instrument, and it's kind of like this Superwoman / Grace Jones / Bootsy / Larry / all of these things that are happening at once, and it's kind of like a superhero when you see the image. And then when you come to a show, it's kind of like, oh, this girl, she's normal, she's cool, like she's calm, she's not hard, she's not like just this larger than life thing, and I kind of like the balance between the two, because I can just be this girl you see here with the sweats and everything, and I can get on stage and I can do that. But I've come to know, and I realize now, that the magic with what it is that I'm doing with the costumes and stuff, people like to come into like a fantasy. They like to come into something that is different from what's happening in the world or what they see in the world every day. So they kind of get both of those things. But yeah, I never thought about that.
So did you were you always confident? Are you confident out on stage, or is this a character that you now inhabit, and have you grown into that character? I don't know. I mean, because I know what I was like.
Well, she could probably answer that question for you. But I've always been a confident person.
Yes.
I've always been a confident person. But when I became a musician, I had examples to look up to, bass players, mostly guys, some of them women as well, like Rhonda Smith and Ida Nielsen. And I thought that I had to be like them. I thought that I had to be, the bass player that moves like this or doesn't move at all, or just has my feet bolted to the ground, or, you know, just has to look a certain way. And then I met.
Hey.
And I thought that I had to, like, the bass had to be in front. It had to be all about the bass, you know? And then I met Miko, and she forced me outside of my box.
I know where this is going.
She had me sing. First of all, my very first solo show that I played, I kind of just stood there and played the bass, sang a little bit. And I had my eyes closed. I have a song called Eyes Closed because I was playing and singing with my eyes closed a lot. And then Miko was like, hey, you know what? You sing with your eyes closed. You need to open your eyes. And that was such a struggle, wasn't it?
Can I tell a story?
Yes.
I remember sitting in the rehearsal studio with you gals. And I can't remember what song, whatever song it was that you were supposed to be singing and playing, right? And it was a trio, and so you were out in front, and you kept closing your eyes. And I remember getting up from the couch, and I'm sitting there trying to like work on contracts and stuff as I'm watching you, and I was like, "All right, who do you think? Remember this? Who do you think is hot?" And I can't remember. You came up with somebody, and I was like, "All right." So we Googled a picture of him, and I stood there, and I was like, "You're gonna sing this song to him," and everybody just doubled over laughing. I was like, "No, I was like, "I'm serious. I'm not kidding. Nobody's leaving this room for bathroom or water or anything until Nick West sings the song with her eyes open, serenading this hot man, this well-oiled, shirtless guy on this phone right here." And I just remember you were like, "I really don't want to do this." I was like, "No, but you have to." And I think I even said, "Nobody will ever know about this. Sorry."
Yeah,
Everybody knows now. Everybody knows.
But the thing that was so great, I remember everybody, right? They were this entity that we were doing this project for was trying to do that exact thing of like, oh, the instruments are more like props, they're more secondary, right? And they were trying to literally mask you girls into something else, into characters. And I remember I heard you, what was it? I might have heard Forbidden Fruit. I heard one of the early songs, Forbidden Fruit or something.
Yeah.
And I said, I know what you have to do. And you said, "What's that?" And I said, "You're going to sing Back in Black by AC/DC.
And I was like, "No."
And I was like, "Yes, you're going to sing it." And I remember you, "Back in Black." I was like, "No, girl, do it." Right. And and this thing came out of you.
But I was mad at you.
That's okay. All three of you were mad at me at one point in time or another, and that's okay.
I was so mad, you guys, because first of all, I didn't want to sing like be out front like that. I didn't want to be out front like that.
Could have fooled me.
Number one. Well, after you know. And number two, I didn't want to sing Back in Black. Why did I want to sing Back in Black? Because I didn't think that I could sing it. Number one, I'm like, it's AC/DC. It's these white guys doing this hard rock song. What do I look like going crazy? Like, that's not me. I love Erykah Badu. I love like Kiss by Prince. Like, I love Lauryn Hill. Like, you want me to sing hard rock? Oh, that's not happening. And then do it.
And then we hit the studio and I produced the track for you guys, or you gals. And then what happened to you and Back in Black? That just became that became the thing.
That became the thing. But she gave me a visual. She's like, okay, we were in the studio and I'm singing Back in Black. I'm trying to sing it so perfect.
Right.
You know, like I want all the notes to be perfect. And she was just like, all right, we're gonna turn the lights off. She came into the vocal booth and she's like, okay, so I don't want you to sing it like Nick West would sing it. I want you to sing it. I want you to channel James Brown. Wow. How would James Brown sing Back in Black? That's how I want you to sing it. And, you know, like in my head, I'm like, like I'm getting all these visuals of James Brown, and that for me, that did it. Like you gave me a funk artist, a black funk artist, and said, how would this black funk artist approach Back in Black. And I was like, I got it.
Yeah, because anytime I heard Angus play that line, I didn't think rock. I thought funk. That to me is a slap bass line. Got, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's all the ornamentations in the middle.
Groove.
It does.
That groove.
Yeah.
Definitely
and I just knew, because I heard you do little things in your voice, and I thought there's something in there. There's something in there that needs to come out. Because otherwise, she's not going to be Nick West. She's going to be Nikki West for the rest of her life. Right? It's about crossing. It's not just about crossing the bridge. It's about crossing the bridge and burning the motherfucking bridge behind you.
Yeah.
There are moments that you have to do that.
Right. And then, but I mean, that for me was a game changer because, and then Dave Stewart saw this.
Right.
Heard the song and he was just like, wait.
Oh, is that what happened? He heard this? I didn't know. Oh, nobody ever told me that he heard that production. Woo.
Yes, he did. He heard this.
Go girl.
And I had already been working with Dave Stewart as like a bass player, you know.
I
play bass behind him, but I was never singing. Like he maybe gave me some background parts. And he heard this and he's like, you're an artist. You're not just a bassist. You're not a bassist. You're an artist. And he's just like, this is what we need to do with you. You need to change your hair because rock, this funk rock thing, you own that. You need to be the female Lenny Kravitz. You need to do something different with your hair. We're going to do something with your image to where it just screams like rock. You need to, and from there, like that's how the metamorphosis of Nick West happened. And from there, it just went boom, like it just shot up. So I have you to thank for that.
That's very sweet. I think my rates just went up a little bit. No, just kidding. But actually that does bring up a question in terms of the health and wellness side of things, which is when you're going through a transformation like that, it's very, because I watched, I saw a lot of it. There's a lot of internal stuff that happens, like, and especially at that time you had that other entity before you had sort of gone off to spread your wings, saying, no, you have to be this way, this way, this way. So how do you encourage people that are going through this to remedy that struggle, right? I.e., I want to be this way because I feel this and I feel my spirit here.
Yeah.
But my parents say, or my manager says, or my boyfriend or girlfriend says, or society just doesn't. I don't know what would happen if I strapped a purple bass clef to my head and put on spandex and went out and did yoga. Like how can people, I'm just taking you as an example here, but how can people speak to themselves in a successful inner dialogue that will give them that not just confidence, but that love, that fun, that motivation to want to see it through? Because so many people have those false starts, right?
Right. And I feel like you have to be true to who you are, because like I said before, I was just kind of standing around playing bass, singing a little bit. And my sister was like, you're crazy. You're crazy at home. You got all this energy. You got ADD. Throw it on the stage. Like, what are you doing? Be you. Be 100% who you are. You're crazy. You love costumes. You love all this stuff. So just do it. And so just be who you are, like be out of the box. Don't try to be in the box, because no one has ever become big or become their best self by being in the box. I mean, if you think about it, Prince, like he had the pants with the butt cheeks out or whatever, out of the box, boom. He was like dressing like a woman, boom. Like Rick James, same thing. I mean, all of these artists that we know and love, we can even say Adele.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? She's outside of the box. She's not the super skinny model-esque type singers like that we've been seeing, all this time before she came about. Lizzo. They're all doing their thing, being who they are, and they're the first to be that, the first to look like that as an artist, and to make. I mean, they're breaking records. So it's kind of like, don't try to be like everyone else. You have to step outside of the box in order to make an impact, I think.
And what do you say to people that tell these artists, no, don't do that, it's too risky? How do you respond to something like that when somebody says, no, don't do that, that's a bad idea?
The greater the risk, the greater the reward. Let me tell you, the greater the risk, the greater the reward. And you know what? If it doesn't work, you can always reel it back. If the mohawk and the crazy look and all that stuff didn't work for me, I just reel it back. And for me, it's been kind of like, okay, it's trial and error. Okay, does this work? If I do this on stage, does this work? You have to go through that process where some people are either booing you or the stage is quiet. Nobody likes what you're doing. You have to go through that process to find what works. You can't just come on the stage or into the industry and it's just going to work. You have to find the sweet spots. You have to dial it in. Because I've had some embarrassing moments. You get through them.
Right.
So how do you deal with for youngsters maybe watching this, or people with a bit of confidence issues? How do you deal with the negative press comments? What's your strategy for it? Because we've all got one.
To be honest, the negative comments. I mean, I'm a confident person, but the negative comments, sometimes read into them every now and then. Read into them. I had somebody comment something like, oh, well, her timing's not perfect. And I was like, what do you mean my timing's not perfect? Like, I got rhythm. Like, I can't believe this person would say something. It's just a troll saying this, saying that. And yes, you can say that, but then you can also think, okay, can my timing be better? And then I would just I would take these negative comments and I would say, okay, let me work on that. Somebody said, oh, like in one of my earlier shows, oh, well, she just stands there with the bass. I mean, yeah, she's pretty, but what else? And I said, okay, I will show them that I don't just stand there with the bass. Like, I'm gonna go buck wild crazy. And then we're gonna see what you say about that. Someone will always have something to say. Like somebody said the other day, oh, she's doing too much. She doesn't take all that. She could just stand there and play the bass. So it's like,
you can't win, can you?
Someone's always going to have something to say.
Yeah.
But on the things that they do have to say that you know that you can improve at, take it as constructive criticism. That's what I did.
Brilliant.
That's what I still do that, even though it makes me mad sometimes.
I think we all have them. For sure. For sure. So let's talk about your healthy habits, because we know you got into yoga. And I know that something that has all you were doing, but something that you're doing at home as well. But this is something we ask all of our guests. 3 healthy habits that you do regularly, either daily or weekly, whatever, that you can share with the audience that has a direct impact on the wellness state of your creativity in your career.
Number 1, drink lots of water. Lots and lots of water, because whatever toxins are there, it gets flushed out. So for me, drinking lots of water is number 1. Number 2, I have like on my watch, the breathing exercises. So I breathe. Like my watch will remind me, you need to take time to breathe. And I'll stop and I'll turn away from my computer, because I can be a workaholic. I'll turn away from my computer. I'll close my eyes and I'll just do a breathing exercise. And it takes like 1 minute. And then stretching before bed, or like do a plank, a minute plank. If you can't like work out because you're like, oh, I don't feel like working out because I'm discouraged today, just try to do one thing. Do a plank, stretch before you go to bed. Just, I say just keep it simple. Don't try to be an overachiever with all of this. Just keep it simple. Water, breathe, do one thing that makes your body move. That's what I try to do.
Nice. That's and I don't think there's anybody that can have any excuses that, oh, I forgot to drink water today, or I forgot to stretch, or I forgot to breathe. Then you died.
I mean, like, really do these breathing exercises. They really help.
How many times a day? I mean, you have a reminder on your watch. Is that how that works?
Yeah. So there's a reminder on my watch that just says time to breathe. Just twice a day, and it's
twice a day.
Twice a day, and it's like a minute to 2 minutes where you just breathe in and out, deep breaths, and then you go back to doing whatever it is you're doing, your work or whatever it is you're doing. So nice. That one's really important.
Yeah, I must admit, I mean, it's like I didn't realize until I got my watch how many times I needed to stand up in a day when I wasn't. You know, I can sit there for 3 or 4 hours, and it's like, what the fuck have I been doing?
Yeah.
I gotta go get one. Is this an Apple Watch?
Yeah, it's just an Apple Watch.
Oh man, I'm late to the party. I'll go get one tomorrow then. Yes. You guys are selling. Really?
Yeah. So I mean, they come built in where it tells you to breathe. It tells you to stand up. If you haven't stood up in an hour, like it'll tell you stand up for 1 minute.
Can you turn that off?
You can.
But you shouldn't.
Okay. I'm just asking because I have enough reminders coming in on my phone. I just thought if it's attached to me. Okay. I will go check that out. Mark my words, you will see an Instagram story from me tomorrow. I'm at the Apple store because of at Nick West Base and at Mike Exeter. I'm getting one of these damn watches today. You'll see. I did have a time management question for you, because this is another thing that Mike and I, Dan Armstrong says, I tell mine to fuck off.
No,
all right. Well, good evening to you, Dan. There is this thought that I think, and Mike and I, we have this conversation a lot on this particular podcast about how right now in the time of COVID, if we're blessed enough to be healthy, right, not get sick, unfortunately, there's a lot of people that aren't, but if we are, then COVID has really given us the gift of time in that respect. And I think there are a lot of people that feel like, because you posted this, was it yesterday or this morning? It said, if you can't manage a 5-year plan, if you can't manage 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
Right. So I want you to talk to us about time management, because that's something that a lot of our guests talk about in terms of like what makes them healthy, what makes them successful, and offer some tips on that, because that's something I think a lot of our listeners, they feel overwhelmed, right, with the emotion, and they let the emotion dictate the flow of their day rather than, I think, a task list or some sort of effective management strategy. So what do you do on days when you just don't feel like being Nick West? What do you do?
Being honest, I have those days, and I'm in LA, so I go to the beach. And nice. I'm like, okay, if I can't get any of this stuff done at home, I'm going to take my laptop. I mean, if I don't need like a Wi-Fi connection, and I'm going to go to the beach. I'm going to lay out a blanket, take my laptop and my headphones, and work on the beach. So, I mean, I'm going to get one task done while just watching people and watching the water. I mean, that works for me. Sometimes it's a matter of your environment. Getting out of your environment in order to get that task list finished. And I mean, I've done that several times where I've literally will wake up and like, oh, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to be here. Like, oh, what am I doing? I'm not inspired. I'm discouraged or whatever. Right. And then me and Nico, I'll take my laptop, my phone or whatever, and I'll go to the beach and I'll try to get one thing done off the list while I'm at the beach. Or I'll go sit on the mountain like Mulholland, and I'll just look at the outlook, look at nature, and try to complete a task. I mean,
there's no signal up on Mulholland though, girl.
Right, but a lot of
that's the point.
My tasks don't need a
Oh, okay. I was gonna say for me, it's all communication stuff. So it's like I can't. It's a dead zone up there, but that makes sense.
Definitely.
Fair enough.
And at the beach most of the time, some areas.
There's a thing as well, isn't there, that they say if it's the 2-minute rule. If you think a task on your list can only take 2 minutes, why not just get on with it? Because there's a whole load of things that I'll look down and go, I don't know, I don't feel like that. And it's like, it's 2 minutes,
Right.
Yeah.
And
right. And if you just say, and I'm telling you, if you're just kind of like, for instance, I might have 6 things on the list that I need to do. It's like, okay, Nick, just try to do one today. I know you're not feeling the best. Just try to do one. And then when you've done the one, it's like, okay, I've accomplished something today. Even if it was like, paint the wall, hang a photo, or something.
Right.
So just do something.
How important is it for you to stay creative, not just musically, but things like, I know you're working on your studio, you're working on various spaces around the house, and I know y'all inspired me. My assistant and I went to get more cabinets, and we're going to be spray painting now, because I saw Nico doing the spray painting, and I was like, yes, that's what we need, we're going to do it.
Yes.
But like, how important is it for you to be creative in your task list, not just sort of efficient, but to actually have flourishes to them and make them unique and exciting, for lack of a better term?
Wow, that's okay. So for me, yes, because I have these multiple projects that I'm working on, but not everything in life has something to do with music or your work. You know, sometimes like it could be something that has to do with your house or your home, or just making your office space unique or whatever. And I had this problem the other day, actually, and that's the day that I went to IKEA.
Oh, we're going this afternoon. Let's see if we have a line.
And I was in line the whole time. And yes, I hate lines, but it was something for me to just get out of the house and not focus on anything music, nothing that had to do with work. And I'm like, okay, let me buy some shelves so that I can put some candles on the shelf. I don't know. Just not ever. I'm going to learn a new recipe. I'm going to learn how to make a cake or make something, do something with my hands that's different than normal.
Yeah. Cool. Very cool. So it's about balance then, really.
Definitely about balance. And then there's those days where I'm like, I'm not doing nothing. I'm turning on the TV at 11 a.m. and I'm going to watch it until I go to bed.
Goodness.
Those days too.
Goodness.
Yeah, I had to do that at the weekend. I know it becomes overwhelming after a while, all these tasks. And it's like, I'm just no good to anybody unless I actually take a day off,
I take 2 days off out of the week. I don't do anything.
Dan has an interesting comment here. Is the challenge that if it's creative/music tasks, chopping around tasks sometimes requires a headspace reset? Now that's a good question. Although it's written kind of funky, but that's okay. How do you literally change your mind when you have to go from one thing to the next, or when you go from something that's really great to something like this afternoon? I know you have to go do something that's very personal to you. We won't go into it, but by what process do you do that? Like, does it take a long time, or do you just go, no, I'm gonna click, I'm there, I'm moving on to the next thing?
Some days it's like that, and some days for me it's doing something in between, like going to get something to eat. Like, I have this task that I have to do that has to do with the bass or whatever, and then I've got to switch and do something else that's unrelated that I kind of don't want to do. So after I finish the hard task, I'm going that's my thing. I get up, try to finish the hardest thing first, the most difficult thing first. And then I go get something to eat. I leave the house, I'll go get something to eat, or I'll make something to eat. And then I'm off to just a whole completely different subject or task. So for me, I have to break it up, because my attention span, it's not going to last.
See, that's so funny, because in all the years I've known you, I've never seen that ADD side of you ever. I don't think. I've always seen you be really focused.
Yeah.
And very committed.
Ask the girls I lived with.
Well, but I did, and they were always like, "Oh no, she's locked in her room playing bass." So I just assumed you were just super focused. I was like, "Oh, that's cool. She's diligent."
Locked in my room playing bass, trying to learn these songs, because remember I had the tour and stuff that I had to do with Dave Stewart, and
I remember,
channel. So I had all these things happening at once. But once I came out of the room, I was like, "So what we doing?" Like, we went to like the underground. We went to so many different places, like at nights, that we probably shouldn't have been going to.
I was not aware of this. Why did you children not tell me this?
It was me and Brittany, we would go and we would do all this stuff, and then of course I would sit and watch Say Yes to the Dress with Ariel. So I mean, I need my breaks.
Oh my
God! Do stuff.
That is hysterical. That is so funny. Weren't you on Say Yes to the Dress?
I was last
Ironically enough, like isn't you started out watching it there, you ended up on it.
Exactly.
That's awesome. That's
but
great.
that's where I found out about it. Like New York, Ariel, she watched the show all the time. So I'm like, all right, let me sit down and watch this girly show that you want to watch.
Oh
and then
God.
I'm on it like last year. So yeah.
Wow. That's so funny. Oh my God. I did not know that you girls went out trolling in Brooklyn.
Oh yeah.
I was a bad den mother. That's okay.
Oh,
That's okay. I had a question and then I forgot it. Mike, do you have a question that you can secure while I remember my question?
No, I really don't. No. I've just been listening to you guys.
Yeah, I know this has turned into a bit of a chat hour. It's true. No. It is every once in a while. It's nice to have that. How important is advocacy and service to you, Nick? In terms of like, there are a lot of people I think that get lost in their musical careers because they keep thinking me. But do you feel at all that when you are writing, when you're performing, when you're recording, especially when you're touring, like you're doing this in service of someone else or of something greater?
Yeah, so for me, it's kind of detached from my music, like my service and all the advocacy that I get involved in. It's kind of detached, but it's still kind of. So for me, so when I was in New York, for instance, I mean I have 3 sisters, so
right.
You know, I've always been like about sisters and you know, coming together and doing something great together. And then of course, when I was in New York, that was the first time that I was in like an all-girl bands besides my sisters.
Right.
And my dad came to visit and he said, you know what? Because I was like, oh, well, you know, like for instance, like Ariel, well, she's not playing this particular song right, or
don't tell her that,
or this person's not doing this right. I mean, I say that about my friend Ariel because, you know, she's my friend, you know, we're cool.
Yeah.
And I would just say little things. And then my dad would say, okay, so you might be better at playing that thing right. But these girls here, just think of them as your sisters. These are your sisters and they're stars in the sky just like you. And with you, you know, just kind of like being here and encouraging them, it's going to make them even better. Right. And that's what you should always do. If you're the worst one in the room, you're in a good position because you're going to be learning from everybody else. But if you're the best one in the room, or if you're better than someone in the room, then you need to be responsible for teaching that person, you know? So I was learning like a lot of stuff from my dad at that time. And so now every time I have something going on, I'm like, okay, I'm always taking a chance on people that may not be fully ready yet to, oh, well, I haven't gone on tour, or I haven't done this yet, or I haven't done this. And I'm like, well, come with me. Let me show you something. You know what I mean? Like, or just whatever it is. Like some people don't have instruments. I have like so many basses. I'm endorsed by Fender, and somebody says, hey, you know, I really love playing the bass and I've been playing this, but, you know, and I would look at their instrument like, okay, that's a terrible bass. Here's a bass. Here's this, here's that. And I try to do things for people because I know in the beginning, like I didn't have nothing. I didn't have anything. I didn't come from a family that had money at all. I didn't go to school for music. So I had to learn. I had to learn in people. I had to listen to you, Amico, like the songwriting, like you're an amazing songwriter. So I learned a lot by listening to, okay, how did she approach this song? Okay, well, let me try to approach a song this way. So I think just being around people that are better than you, for me, and then if you're the best one in the room, being the one that reaches down and helps everybody as much as you can. That's kind of how I advocate, whether it's music or whether it's yoga or whatever it is. I think we're always responsible for helping people along the way.
So last question until Mike jumps in at the end, because he always comes up with one question.
No, I'm being thrown tonight. This is awesome. This is really good.
So speaking about helping people in songwriting, I want to talk about that phone call that I got from you one day.
Oh yeah.
The bullying thing. So because we only got into it and then I never really found out what happened after that. So this was years ago, but
Yeah.
This was something that was so important. I remember, and I still carry it with me. And I tell the story when I do interviews about that record. Nick called me up one day. I don't know, whatever. Let's call it a Thursday. And there was an issue I remember that was so. On the surface, it was so innocuous, but then as we opened up into it, it was so much deeper than what it seemed to be, which was really important. And I carry this with me now so many years later. And I ended up writing a tune about it that I almost had the girl band play, and then I took it back because when I saw what the entity was going to do, I went, no, and that's a lesson.
Yeah.
That's a lesson on the side too, by the way. Is at the time my manager was like, "You don't want to give that to the record company. Maybe you want to hold on to that one for a second."
Yeah.
But I did want to talk a little bit. This is the final question until Mike has his last word. That was a conversation about bullying that we had, and I remembered somebody was bullying you, and the thing that really struck me was you were rightfully upset, and then you closed it out by saying, I don't understand what I was doing. All I was doing was breathing, meaning like I was just
being
existing, just being me. Right.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about bullying, because I know you've had your fair share of receiving that.
Yeah.
How you deal with it. This is a big topic for Mike and me. I know for Mike especially, he's a big advocate for anti-bullying. How do you handle that? Because there are people out there like these evil people.
There are, and it's part of every world, not just the music world. And that happened to me, and it happened to be somebody that I thought I looked up to, somebody that I thought was like helping me or was going to, it came from, I'm gonna be honest, it came from a Black woman.
Mm-hmm.
So for me,
I remember,
me having like sisters and stuff, and it's kind of like, but we're supposed to help each other, but we're supposed to, not put each other down and not go behind the other's back and say things to people of legendary status, things that are just lies. And because you don't feel comfortable with me, I guess, coming up on your heels. And that's what it was for this particular person. She felt threatened. And all I was doing was like looking up to her like, oh my God, like, this is so awesome. Like, you're so good, And I had no idea that she felt threatened by me, by little old me. And so I cried about it. Oh, I cried about it. I'd never experienced anything like that before because I would never do that to anybody. So I didn't understand how it could happen to me. And so, yeah, I remember calling you and telling you about this. And I'm like, I don't know what I did, but I'm telling you, Emiko, like, I carried that with me. I probably, I still carry it with me to this day. Like,
because I remember that phone call like it was yesterday.
Yeah, because it hurt me so bad. It's just kind of like, you just never think that it's going to come from somebody that you look up to or somebody that is like you and probably has to go through the same struggles that you did in the beginning of their career. Right. So I still carry that with me. I can't even say, if I'm being honest, I can't even say how I dealt with that. I cried about it. It still upsets me to this day, but I've chosen to like forgive that person. And I've chosen to, okay, well, let me put myself in her shoes and try to see what it is that she was seeing.
Right.
And I came up with, she was threatened. I didn't know how what I was going to be. I didn't know that I would be Nick West, but maybe she did. Maybe she saw that and she felt threatened and tried to ruin my entire career before it even got started. So I still carry that with me. And But it's good that I carry that with me because I believe that it keeps me humble. It keeps me at a place to where, you know, doesn't matter how big I become, and I'm just like, well, I can just be really great one day. And I always come back to that moment. Like, there's a young girl that's like looking up to me and like, oh, you know, I really try to choose my words, and I really try to make sure that I don't taint that image of me, myself.
Okay.
So I believe that it happened to me for a reason, so that I wouldn't become overconfident in who I am to become. It keeps me grounded. It keeps me humble because I remember how I felt. So,
see, the thing that you don't know that I will now reveal after so many years is that when I got that phone call, that came on the heels of a conversation I had had with a representative from the entity that we were all involved in.
yeah.
And that individual, who shall remain unnamed, told me that I was too old. Because remember, they were thinking about expanding the trio into a quartet. He wanted a keyboard player involved.
Yeah.
And he said, "You're too old. You're not pretty enough. You don't have it."
You're kidding.
Nope, dead serious. He said, "You're a great executive. You keep the girls in line. You are, you run this thing very well, but you don't have the thing." And I went, "Fuck you." Basically, I was like, fuck you.
Right.
But it was interesting because literally I think it was the next day or 2 days later, I got this phone call from you about that. And for me, I went, this is the opportunity where I could have felt threatened by that phone call, right? Because I was told I was an old lady and I was a this and I was that. And I went, no, let me choose to raise people up, right? So this is a cyclical thing. And that's the thing that people, I think so many people in our industry need to understand, is not just that bullying is so wrong, but this conversation is going on not quite a decade, almost a decade after it happened. And Nick and I still carry this with us, not because we're bitter, but because it has a stamp on it, right? And so if you are a bully, big fat stop it, because it's mean and you probably smell bad. And number two, I'm just throwing that in there for good measure, because you probably do. But number two, if you're being bullied, do not ever assume that what they are saying is true, right? Never assume that.
Don't ever assume that. And when you look at it, when you look back on it years from now, you're going to be looking at those same people that bullied you, and they're here. You're here, and those people that bullied you, they're here.
Right.
So it's kind of like I could have let what she said to other people or to me or whatever really get to me and make me quit. But I carried it with me, and I use it as fuel to elevate me. So I mean, same with you. Like, you're doing your thing and you're awesome. You're amazing. And this Asian can play some funk. Let me tell you.
Thank you, girl. Well, I appreciate that.
Brilliant.
That's all I'm saying. So those bullies, God bless you, but thank you.
Yeah, it's right. Thank you next, as Ariana Grande would say. Exactly. Well, Nick, I know you have to go attend to this other thing that you've got going on. Mike, do you have?
No, I think that's I really honestly think that's a great place to end it on. It's positive, and it's really been inspirational, because it means a lot hearing all this stuff brought out and talked about so positively. I think that's what people need to hear.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you.
And interviews, every time I finish an interview, I'm like, oh, I regretted that. I was such a dork. So thank you for saying that.
No, that was awesome.
I mean, yeah, we're all dorks. It's
exactly.
That's inevitable, Nick. I mean, just we live with that. But we're the dorks that people want to emulate. So that's good. That's a good thing.
Awesome.
Anyway, Nick, thank you so much for being with us today. Everybody, thank you so much for your participation and involvement, I guess. There's a lot of questions here, which we'll make sure that Nick gets And those that are addressed to us will answer. Stay tuned next week. We're not ready to announce our guest yet, but we will be shortly. Tuesdays at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. British summertime.
No, it's going to be Greenwich Mean Time next week. So
Can I have Abby change the posters now? Thank you.
We'll have to check that. It'll be a different time.
Are you in Britain?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was thinking about moving there one day.
Yes, it's nighttime here.
Don't move there.
No, don't.
Don't move there. We're trying to get Mike over. We're trying to get Mike over here. Are you kidding?
We'd love you over here, but it's winter.
Oh yeah, it's winter already. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway, Nick, thank you so much for joining us today. It was lovely. We love you. Everybody stay tuned next week for another episode of Across the Board. We're 2 episodes away from episode 10 when we'll have a huge party. Maybe. Excellent. We'll see. Anyway, thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.